bumper go the whole time. Don't listen to him, dude.
Me and my family went out to Moab this last week and I took it on the pickle and I bumped it a little bit too hard and it broke the axle shaft, and so now that wheel doesn't turn at all. So I'm gonna change that out today, and if I have time I might change the other one as well. So I went on KSL a couple weeks ago and I picked up this bad boy right here. It's a Dana 35 out of Jeep Grand Cherokee. The same exact year as mine and the same motor. So everything should be the same. I'm pretty excited. I got this thing for only 50 bucks, so it was a pretty good deal. I couldn't pass it up. So we'll just pull the axle shafts out of these. I'm not gonna use the housing because that's gonna be a lot more work. I'm just gonna pull the axle shafts out, and I kind of plan on breaking my axles again. So I probably won't put new seals on these axles because I'm pretty sure you have to press off the bearing and the collar and press a new seal on and all that. So it's more than just the seal, more work. So we'll get to it. So I've got a locker in this thing and it's in park right now. There's nothing. It's like it's in neutral. This axle's still good though. Can't move it at all, but yeah, so when I was going up the hill, I just hit the gas real hard to bump it up and it slid down, came down and heard a big bang. And we all know what the big bang is. Next, I'm going to be taking off this caliper here. Take the rotor off. And there'll be 4 bolts behind the heat shield here for the rotor. If you can see them. Pull those out and the axle should slide out. It'll be interesting to see where the axle broke. I'm kind of worried it broke in the locker. If it did, it might be kind of hard to get it out. We might have to pull the pumpkin cover, but we'll see what happens. So this thing, it's got a bunch of gear oil on it, even gear oil down there. It was clean before I broke the axle. This is why I am pretty sure it's the axle, is because you can kind of hear it, and I'm thinking it put it at a weird angle and it wore the seal out when I was driving it off the trail. So yeah, we'll get that cleaned up, but the rotor's got a bunch of gear oil in it too. All right, I'm gonna do those 4 bolts that are behind the axle, or behind this heat shield that hold the axle in. Are you silly? I'm still gonna send it. All right, all the bolts are out. Hopefully it comes out. Moment of truth. Haha. There she is. She broke in 2. Kind of interesting. Look at this axle. Starts out super wide right here, and then at the end where it really counts, it goes really thin. Guess that's a Dana 35 for you.
Pick it up. You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus.
Well, I'm having no luck getting this thing out with a magnet, and it's gonna be hard to find something that'll reach down in there. So I think I'm gonna have to pull the pumpkin cover off, which won't be too bad. And I'm hoping it didn't damage the locker. It doesn't look really good in there. Well, I got the pumpkin off, and there's a ton of metal shavings in there. I don't know if you can see that. Kind of metallic. There's also a bunch of metal chunks in it as well. So I'm glad I pulled the pumpkin. I guess note to self, note to everyone else. If you break an axle, it's probably a good idea to pull the pumpkin cover off and check for metal pieces. Just looking at it, I'm gonna have to take that locker out so I can get to that broken piece inside. Hopefully it'll come out. Hopefully it's not sticking out too far where it won't come out, but that's what I'm gonna have to do. So let's give it a go. 1/4 inch 12 point. So I'm gonna have to watch for falling parts when I pull this off. The pins inside the locker are probably gonna fall out. So I just gotta keep my eye out. just to let you guys know, when you go buy a locker, make sure you save these pins, because it'll make it a lot easier to get the new locker, or your locker out. So I was actually able to hit the piece of the axle that was missing through where the pin went in. Gonna pull the axle out of this one now. Luckily for me, everything's apart, so I just gotta get those 4 bolts off and slide the axle right out. Here's the new axle. That's what this is supposed to look like. This is what the old one looks like. I'm gonna count the teeth and figure out, make sure that it's the same just to be sure, but it looks like it. And also, I'm gonna use this bearing race off the other axle because it's already kind of worn into this bearing. I'm actually not gonna be changing the seal or anything. I'm just gonna kind of throw it in and see how it does, because I don't know, it's Dana 30, Dana 35, whatever it is, and it'll probably break again, so I'm not gonna go too crazy with it. Thinking about just lining it up, because I mean, it still matches up pretty good, and just welding it right there. Welding the bead and just running this one, and then I'll just run this one and then have the other as my spare. I'm just joking. Yeah, there's no fixing that bad boy. All right, I got my axle in. Pretty nice. When you turn it here, things turn in that side too, so that means there's some connection there. Well, next I'm gonna be spraying a bunch of brake clean inside of the gears and inside the locker and try and clean it out really good. There's still a lot of metal shavings and things inside the pumpkin area there, just from the axle. At least I'm hoping it's from the axle and not from something important, but this seems to roll really good still, and visually everything looks fine in there as far as I can see, so we'll just have to clean it out and give her a go. Just got to clean some of these parts, the like pads and stuff like that for the e-brake. They had a bunch of gear oil on them, so I'm just taking solvent and cleaning it all off. Got to clean the rotor off too, and then I'll go back together with it. Take my buzz gun here. Nice little snap-on buzz gun. I'm gonna be real careful. I'm gonna buzz all the old silicone away on this pumpkin cover surface. And also I've decided I'm going to be pulling this axle out on this side as well. They got pretty hammered. I got an axle out there. It's only 4 bolts and caliper, so make myself have less pain if that thing breaks pretty soon. Got this entire side together right here. Just got to put the wheel on, but it's ready to go, all cleaned up, and axle's bolted in, ready for action. Well, I'm glad I made the decision to pull this other axle out. I don't know if you can see it. Let me grab my light. You can see those splines, they're starting to twist. So this thing wasn't far from breaking too. I'll use this for an emergency spare for right now though, but go get that other one out of that other axle and we'll put it in. Got our wheels back on. Got the pump cover on. Time to lower it down, torque the wheels and see if it moves. But I'm already feeling better about it because look, it moves the other side. So there's connection there. Well, this makes me smile. Look at that. That rear tire's turning again. Looks like we have a successful fix on our hands.